Just up the street, the Southampton Playhouse has opened after 5 years of being closed. The village landmarked its iconic front facade and marquee. Now you can see state-of-the-art films, even in IMAX, at this historic treasure which was opened in 1932. Hello, I'm Bill Manger, Mayor of the Village of Southampton, and I'm joined today by Eric Cohn, who's the Artistic Director of the Southampton Playhouse, which is otherwise known as the movie theater on Hill Street in Southampton, and it's finally reopened after it was closed for almost 5 years. So Eric, thank you so much for being here. It's so exciting to have movies back in Southampton Village. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit how you got involved and what's been going on over there so far. I mean, the most exciting thing to me is that you have an IMAX screen, which is the only IMAX screen on the whole east end of Long Island. So that's fantastic. But
it's a really good starting point. And also importantly, you've been there to see movies. We're trying to be there for everyone. I mean, movie theaters are sort of the great uniting cultural force in a way, because no matter where you are, what your background is, what your age is, you could probably find something in a movie theater that aligns with your interests. And I love that we have a theater that's been there since the 1930s, because we have generations of people in this town who grew up going to it. So I was a journalist and a critic for almost 20 years for a film publication called IndieWire. I was a producer for a little bit, and got connected to a few folks who were part of the board when the theater transitioned from its earlier identity as a multiplex to become a nonprofit. And really those conversations early on were just sort of about how do we reach out to this big amorphous thing, which is the film industry, and say, hey, we want to create something new and special, not just another movie theater, but something that can go beyond that. And that was just so exciting for me. It was almost like this blank slate, except that it had this foundation of the community being so invested in it from the start.
Yeah, and I think I maybe mentioned, I saw my first movie ever at that movie theater. I think it was 1971. I was really young. And it was a Steve McQueen movie called Le Mans. And he played a race car driver. And anyway, I went with my father. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I've been happy to go back to that movie theater over and over again. And this year I did go back, and you actually showed a movie from 1932, Trouble in Paradise, which was a lot of fun. It was great that you showed a movie from the year that the building was built. Are you going to do more of that going forward, or tell me a little bit more about your programming?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really excited to have that screening as one of our first repertory offerings. It was part of this larger program that we did called The Spirit of 1932. It was all films from 1932, which is a great year for movies. Pre-code Hollywood. It was the Great Depression, so people went to the movies for escapism to not think about the outside world. And the thing about these kinds of series is that we can bring them back anytime. So this is not the last time you will hear of that series at the Playhouse. But also very exciting on the horizon is that Gary Cooper, an amazing movie star, spent a lot of time
in Southampton. In fact, he's buried in the Southampton cemetery right over off the highway.
That's right next to his wife. So this is a bit of a hidden secret of Hollywood history in a way. Buried in Southampton, spent time in Southampton, and was this amazing eclectic movie star. So we are establishing our inaugural Gary Cooper Festival at the beginning of May.
That's great.
May
That's excellent.
9th to 11th. Maria Cooper Janis, his daughter, who has a place in East Hampton, she will be joining us. We're going to screen High Noon, which is one of the greatest westerns ever. We're going to show Ball of Fire, which is a really fun screwball comedy. And we're going to show Pride of the Yankees, which is the first great sports movie. So we're going to do it every year because, in a way, these films are a jumping off point for so many different conversations and things to talk about with respect to where the world was then, where we are now. And so that's going to be a really exciting way for us to sort of merge this big historical element of film viewing with the history of Southampton itself.
Right, and the theater has 4 different screens, and again, I think it's great that you're not for profit. So aside from the IMAX, I know you have one screen that you can actually rent out for private use and private viewings. It has its own separate entrance, its own concession stand. Then you have a third screen, and then the fourth screen is in a room where actually the seats can retract, and you can use that space for other types of live events. So maybe you could share with me some of your ideas of what you might do in that space.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for people to understand that we're more than a movie theater all across the board, and I think that all movie theaters need to be operating in that way now, because we need this other space that's not work, it's not home, it's not a restaurant or a bar, it's something else. So we have this beautiful lounge area, it's a bookstore, we have a green room, we have different spaces that can be used in different kinds of ways. And the fourth theater, what we call Theater 4, has 150 seats that come out. entirely. So we can do whatever we want there. We can throw parties, we can do birthday parties there and things like that, but we can also do live music, we can do stand-up comedy, and those are the kinds of conversations that we're having with people, is sort of how do we make sure that this space isn't just, you know, a rental space, which of course it is, but a rental space and an event space that can sort of augment the other programming that we're doing throughout.
Well, I think stand-up comedy would be fantastic. I remember when they actually had some at the Southampton Inn back in the day, and so I think it'd be great to bring some stand-up comedy back to Southampton Village. And you really have become a hub, a cultural hub at the western end of the village, and we really appreciate, you know, all that you and the Playhouse are doing to, again, revitalize the western side of the village. We've had a lot of new businesses move in there. I was just at Limoncello, the pizza parlor that just opened, that came from Montauk. Village Pizza from Montauk is now right there, so it's going to be great. People can grab pizza before or after a movie.
Right.
I think it's a great, you know, it's a small town America. It's really fantastic. Tell us again what some of your vision is, you know, for the Playhouse going forward here then.
Well, we want to be something for everyone in the sense that there are different lanes you can choose. So if you want to see a big new blockbuster, we have, as you say, the only IMAX on the east end of Long Island, and pretty much anything that you might expect to be there is going to be there. But we also want to double down on the things that people really like. So concert documentaries. We had a really wonderful turnout for the Led Zeppelin documentary earlier this year. We just had Pink Floyd in Pompeii was a huge hit for us. So we're looking to do a bigger sort of showcase of that side of things. We also have this amazing parking lot, so we're going to do a lot of fun outdoor stuff on that front. When the racing documentary with Brad Pitt opens this summer, F1, we're talking about doing a big car show and a whole series of classic car movies, including Le Mans potentially. So you might have to come by.
Might have to come back and see it again.
Exactly.
No, well, that's great, and really, we really appreciate how many people now are working over there. It seems you have a real full team now. So who else do you have working?
I mean, we're still small, but we're growing constantly, and I really love working with our staff because we have a lot of folks in the area who have their own memories of the theater, from our projectionists to the folks at the concession desk. So there's myself, and then there's Maria Batsakos, who was at Film at Lincoln Center for about 15 years, and overseeing kind of the administrative side of things. We have an assistant. We have a great theater manager, Nick Lane, who used to work with the Hampton Arts Center, an assistant manager who used to work at Bay Street. So we're pulling from different areas to make sure that the foundation of this place really feels like it belongs in Southampton. It's tied to the history in Southampton. And there's just so much enthusiasm. Yeah, there really is. And I know I've spoken to so many people that are so happy that the movies are back in Southampton, and they're looking forward to going into the Playhouse this summer and getting back to the movies. Yeah, and they'll see a lot of me. I mean, I write this weekly newsletter, which folks can subscribe to, and I introduce a lot of screenings, and I always tell people, if you subscribe to their newsletter, you have my email address. Write me, tell me what you want to see, what you like, what we could do better at, so we can do the best we can. And I hope when they have the Hamptons Film Festival this fall, that your venue, the Playhouse in Southampton, will be part of that film festival. Yeah, me too. I love them. They're great neighbors, and I love that festival, and the programming is first rate, so I'm really hopeful about those conversations as well. Well, Eric Cohn, it's so great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming in and speaking to me about what's going on at the Playhouse, and I appreciate all the hard work you guys are putting into it to really make it a cultural hub here in Southampton Village. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your support.